IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Wire Talks. I'm Sidharth Bhatia. It's a tough time to be a comedian or satirist in India today. They are being harassed online and even jailed like Munawar Faruqui was. He has been prevented from holding a show anywhere in the country. In such a climate, Akash Banerjee is thriving. He may tell me he is not, but let's go with this assumption. His online show, The Deshbhakt, has more than 2.3 million subscribers on YouTube and has 500,000 Twitter followers. And must be around the same on Instagram. Banerjee, a former radio jockey and TV anchor, has worked in print, publishing, television, radio, and is now on a digital platform. And he makes pointed comments about the hypocrisy of politicians, journalists, and even judges. Actually, Akash, I don't think it's a big deal to make fun of journalists because they are they're made for making fun of. Mm. In today's year-end episode of the Wire Talks, he sums up 2021 in his inevitable style. Akash Banerjee, welcome to the Wire Talks.
Pleasure to be here. 2021, when you said it's a sum up, it's very hard to try to sum up 2021 because, year-enders, usually we've grown up to have a nice look at the year gone by, but not much nice to look at the year gone by, but let's see what comes up.
Yeah, actually, that's very important. Let's not get coy about saying things as they are. So my first question, given your work background, I mean, of course, you are a TV anchor and radio jockey, which kind of leads you to this, but still you were employed and now you've got into being an entrepreneur. When did you get into comedy?
So, just like you mentioned right in the start, that I have been a television anchor and a reporter for the longest time, and then I was in the radio industry also for a good 5 years. That's really where the marriage of the irreverence, the fun, the entertainment value, and hard-nosed journalism really came about. And then I realized that journalists anyways take themselves far too seriously. So that resulted in this whole idea of why not should we do satire, data-backed satire, something which is much of a genre in America, for example. I mean, look at the late night shows in America, the Stephen Colbert's, the Jimmy Kimmels of the world, and they have far more credibility on the streets than even your 9 o'clock anchors in America. So the whole play was that, and since no Indian television network would support something like that, even dream of supporting something like that, then one had to go to the digital route, one had to go the independent way. It is tragic that for a nation that calls itself the largest democracy on the planet, which we tom-tom all the place, we don't have a national satire show. On any national network, we don't have a satire show. That really goes to show exactly the strength or the weakness of the democracy that we live in at this point of time.
Yeah, but it must have been quite a decision to go out, branch out on your own, set up to build a setup, eventually a team, and then hope for subscribers to come, right?
I come from a lower middle class Bengali household. We are taught, I come from a family of engineers and MBAs, and I turned out to be a bit of a black sheep. Anyways, I was doing media, which is not a very lucrative profession, and then deciding, after 10, 15 years of being in media to go independent, go solo, go digital without a financial plan. I think my family was really, really worried. I had to sell my house because I didn't, journalists don't have capital that they can start their own venture. So I had to sell one little house that one had invested in to make a runway of 12, 18 months. And that's how it started off. But thankfully, because of the widespread penetration of digital, the fact that people had lost hope, at least the discerning audience had lost hope in mainstream media, we managed to get enough subscriptions to keep us afloat and keep us going. So it's been a bumpy ride, especially with the RBI coming in with all sorts of new gadgets and gizmos of recurring payment, and now saying tokenization of payment, etc., etc. It's been tough, but it's been an immensely rewarding journey to speak your mind, literally. I'm not saying without complete fear, but at least trying to speak your mind.
RBI thing has hit all of us, but we'll set that aside for the time being. So how easy was it to find a voice? Because it's one thing to say I have an idea, and to sustain it, to build a tone, a tenor, content approach. How easy was it to come up with a content, tone, and style?
See, there are two approaches, I think, that happen online. One is you have a passion, you want a vent to that passion, and you get into the digital space hoping that there are enough people who would want to hear to what you have to say, or your passion, or care about your passion. It's a little similar to what even The Wire has achieved. The other one is when you gauge what the market wants, what you see, what works, and then you fashion your product accordingly. That would be the case where maybe I would do complete comedy, boyfriend, girlfriend, and Wire would do only entertainment news. That is when you try to feed the monster, and a lot of people have made a lot of money, a lot of popularity by just giving people what they want. But I was very clear in the beginning only that I want to do political and social satire. Thankfully, I had known television, I had known media, and I had no fancies that tons of people, hordes of people are going to, latch onto this and going to be fascinated by what the Deshbhakt is doing. I say that when we cracked 1 million on YouTube, I was like, boss, done. Isse zyada to hoga nahi. I was very happy with the fact that we had cracked 1 million. After that, we actually stopped counting numbers. So I am happy doing what we want to do, what we like doing, and we've been fortunate enough to have decent traction amongst people. But having said that, if you cater to a wider audience, if you mellow your message, and I don't want to use the word mellow because we don't do that, but what we are trying to do is find alternative ways, engaging, interactive, even entertaining ways to engage with more people, the younger generation, the younger audience. I think that's what Wire also, from only words. I mean, look at video. What a powerful medium it has become for all the new smaller media companies, because video consumption is that big, and that's what we are focusing on.
You said it's tragic that India doesn't have kind of a satire show, political satire show. But I dare say things were somewhat different at one time. That not that they would have not kept an eye on people like you, but you could get away with much more. You could get away with poking fun at the exalted leaders. After all, if you remember, I'm going back in history, but Nehru had said to a cartoonist, make sure you keep drawing me. After that, other politicians also, not everyone had the same liberal attitude. But we are seeing something very different, very unique, very brazen. So given this, and given the complete intolerance of the political class, especially the ruling class, how do you skirt around it? How do comedians skirt around it?
So the history of Indira Gandhi and Lakshman is also very well known. She did not like Lakshman and the way her nose was drawn by him, and he faced flack. But in today's day, if you had a Lakshman drawing a common man, he would be behind bars or he would have a UAPA. We know of cartoonists who have been hounded off their jobs. So that is, let's be very clear where we stand at this point of time, that even cartoonists are not tolerated in the establishment because apparently, actually they are very potent, because in one frame they can say what we take 500 words or maybe a 10-minute video to say. The idea is to obviously continue speaking in whatever little format we can. are we doing genuine hardcore satire? I mean, if we start doing what American satirists do, I mean, we would be in jail in a day. So let's be very clear that any sort of satire, any sort of episodes that we do are completely restrained. So we are anyways operating at maybe 20 or 30% of a potential of what a satirist could. So the idea is to skirt it in the sense that take as much as indirect approach and yet take as much as factual approach. We always say the work of a satirist is actually standing on the shoulder of journalists. You mentioned the judicial episode that we recently did, the 5 controversial ones. So I requested a Live Law to just sum up some of the many startling judicial remarks that they have seen, and it just shows you where the judiciary is at this point of time. And these are like words spoken in court. So, I mean, I hope I'm not pulled up for contempt for quoting what the court said. So the idea is to just state the facts. Bill Maher, I think, said it. Don't joke on the government. Just report facts on the government. That's good enough, because that's as much comedy that is coming out. I mean, really, our biggest competitor is the government in terms of satire and comedy.
Even then, I mean, you skirt around subjects, but can one say confidently that when you began, which was some years ago, 2015?
So 16, 17 onwards, I started working freelance a little bit while I was in radio with News Laundry. And then for the last 3 years, actually, 18, 19, 20, about 19, 20, 21 is what we have done independently. Yeah.
Yeah. So early on, 15, 16, whatever, which was like, the onset of a new dawn in our country. Have you seen the environment change?
The environment is changing we don't even have to go back to 15, 16. We can say that the environment is changing at 19, 20, and what we would have done at the beginning of 21 to now. Look at any mention of religion for that matter. So any song that comes out which has a slight religious tone, any OTT that has a slight religious tone, we all know what happened to Tandav, and that was also because of one scene that anyways was deleted also immediately, and yet the pushback continued and the court cases continued and the FIRs continued. So there is not only a change from 15, 16, how we used to dress, what we used to talk about. Are we going to talk about holy cows? The latest Kerala High Court judgment also talks about the holy cows in India. It's a brilliant judgment. Talks about how there are holy cows in UP, how there are holy cows in West Bengal, if you talk about Tagore, how there are holy cows in Maharashtra, if you talk about Savarkar or Chhatrapati Shivaji, how there are holy cows in Kerala, if you talk about Marx and Lenin. What has happened is this holy cowization has only increased. The radicalization has only increased. The intolerance has only increased. It seems at this point of time that we are just waiting for some scapegoat to come along. We are waiting to lynch somebody online, of course offline, but online if we manage to get somebody. So Veer Das says something which is completely factual, by the way. We went on it line by line. We did an episode. We couldn't find anything which was not factual that he said. But because he said it in America, we were insulted. So we went after him. We went after Munawar. I really think why this is increasing, and it will continue to increase, is that we had been given a vision. We had been told we will become something. We were going to be rich. We were going to be respected. We were going to be powerful. We were going to be a global name. And nothing has happened. And now we are this listless country which is saying, but no. How can you say this? And we are not willing to believe where we are. And that is why this anger and frustration is coming out in these various ways, where even comedians are not being spared. I mean, it is a sad commentary on the state, is that when the government is saying we don't agree with the hunger index, we don't agree with the press freedom index, we don't agree with the democracy index. What index are you agreeing with? Oh, ease of doing business. Oh, that got shut down because it was a scam anyways. So there is a very, very clear problem at this point of time of people not willing to accept reality. And that is why you will see more of this happening, is because comedians are responsible why India is not respected today.
Satirists are responsible why our glorious past, is not is reflecting in its full glory. So I think we are looking for scapegoats on a daily basis. We are looking to boycott things on a daily basis. We are looking to lynch on a daily basis.
Akash, you mentioned comedians, and things have changed. Munawar Faruqui was thrown into jail. Cartoonists in states as diverse as West Bengal and a couple of others have been pulled up for making fun of the chief minister. Bir Das is a very good example. He said something quite factual, far away in the United States. But of course, how could he have brought down India's reputation? So, Pagdo Saleko and FIR, UAPA, etc., etc. But I asked this question to somebody else also a few months ago. Is there not any kind of common solidarity among cartoonists, satirists, where they can say this far and no further? We protest, we are fully in solidarity with Munawar.
I think the biggest problem in the liberal ecosystem and the progressive ecosystem is this whole last word that you mentioned of solidarity. Yesterday, I had put out a tweet saying that hate is winning because hate is united, hate is cohesive, hate is not canceling hate, hate is not pulling down hate, hate is not competing with hate, hate has goals. And that is why I think hate works much, much harder than what liberal or a progressive mindset would work. So A, that is why hate is winning. B, I do not live in any fancy land to say that there is cohesiveness or there is unity. What people do is do out of their own volition. They do it out of whatever little feelings that they have left for the constitution. But no, there is. I don't live in the fancy land of there is unity. I joke around when I do my live streams, and people join me on something called the Saturday night live stream, and I tell them, "Abe, you guys will not even, come out to India Gate and light a candle also for me. If I am next in line, there won't be even a candle for me." So then they put those virtual candles. I said, "Ha, theek hai. You will put a virtual candle for me. That is absolutely okay." So you're absolutely right to suggest and think that if there was more cohesiveness in the progressive ecosystem, like there is in the right-wing ecosystem, I think it would have been a much more powerful thing. But I think that is what the progressive thinking is, that we will not follow anybody. We will not have one common goal. We will find faults amongst each other. We will pull down each other as well. And there is a lot of cancelling that is also happening today. So the cohesiveness actually helps, the elements of hate to rise and to become a stronger voice than they actually would be. And on the Veer point, one final point is that I find it really fascinating is that for a nation that tom-toms its glory, its power, its strength, I mean, really, do you think a Veer Das can insult a nation of 1.3 billion? Apparently, we are becoming a $5 trillion economy. So, is it that easy now? Then we are really a fragile nation. What happened to superpower India that one comedian can actually lower our status and dignity in the international community?
You mentioned some of the taboo subjects, and we can always keep adding to that list. But I noticed that even 3 years ago, 4 years ago, this tended to happen. Perhaps you can tell me whether you did it and whether you're doing it now. That certain names of the ruling establishment, the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, the Chief Minister of UP, they are completely verboten. You can't go in that territory. So one of your shows recently I saw in which you said, perhaps the same one, Rahul, Mamta, Arvind give us daily entertainment. But the other names in quotes, they remain out of bounds.
So it's like Harry Potter, one who must not be named. That's where we are heading. Yes, that is by design. Is that people who are friendly with the establishment will tell you very with a pat on the back, and they have known you for some time and say, "Arey, you do whatever you want to do. You make fun of the party. That's not a problem." They know that a certain amount of fun would needed to be made. Just don't make fun of X, Y, and Z. So why is that? There's a very good reason why the establishment and some people right at the top of the establishment would be very wary of being made fun of. Just think about it. I mean, today Rahul Gandhi is a bit of a joke for the entire nation. Now, if we keep aside the fact that he's not a good politician, which of course there is a problem. He might be a great gentleman, but he's not a good politician. Everybody understands that he does not have the drive. But besides the fact that he does not have the drive, what is Rahul Gandhi's weakness? Has he been implicated in any financial case? Has he been implicated in any other sleaze and slander case? Has he been, caught in anything else like many other politicians have? No. So the biggest weakness of Rahul Gandhi is that Rahul Gandhi is a joke. Who made him a joke? How was it done? With humor. And that is why I think they are very, very scared of turning a future Rahul Gandhis. What if memes, what if jokes, what if comedians do the same thing to them? What was done to Rahul Gandhi? And if you see the digital ecosystem and how they're trying to control, it's the same play. They came into power because they realized the power of digital. Not only mainstream media, they have sidestepped mainstream media in many, many ways and gone digital. And that is why when they see the whole trend issue going wrong, the likes, dislike going against them, they understand that time has come to control digital media.
So you therefore tend to follow that advice of skirting around those names.
Really, really thought about this. You talked about how to skirt the government in terms of topics and what we do, what we not do, in terms about understanding where to go and where not to go and how to hit. I have no qualms in admitting the fact that we do have to skirt, we do have to balance who we are targeting, when we are targeting, and what we are saying. I have no qualms in admitting to that, because the first thing that I have to take care of the fact is that we have to run a small organization, and we cannot do that if we have 10, 15, 20 cases sitting on our head, or if I'm in jail. Somebody asked me that, for example, the latest thing only, that Veer sort of sent out an apologetic tweet immediately after the whole controversy saying that I respect my nation and it was never. So he was sort of clarifying his satire, and satire, if you start clarifying, is not satire anymore. I said, I'll do the same thing. I'll do a lot more than that. I will go down on my knees, is because one has to survive to do whatever they have to do. I claim no sort of superhuman powers to take on the establishment. And I'll tell you the reason for that also. It's not like one doesn't want to or one can't. There is a disappointment one has when I see what is happening in our society. I can understand media, Godi media, pliant media. I can understand a comatose opposition. I can understand compromised judgments. What I cannot understand, appreciate, or stand for is a society that is completely gone berserk, gone haywire, gone comatose, gone idiotic, gone asinine. And I ask myself, is that who are you trying to do any sort of krantikari for? And that is why we always believe is that Deshbhakt should also reflect what the population is thinking, not what I think is right, which I try to, but also reflect what the population is thinking. When I see the population of Delhi NCR saying all sorts of crap and living in 500 AQI without a bother, and I'm like, why should I even do an air pollution episode now? Because it doesn't matter to you guys. So sometimes, increasingly, as a matter of fact, on Deshbhakt, you will see a lot of episodes that are mocking the middle class, that are mocking the urban population. I have far more respect today for farmers and rural population, but also they have also been taken up, a lot of rural population being taken up with all this, religious overwash at this point of time. So I am saying is that I stand by what is happening when the people are also concerned about a certain issue. People are skirting issues. I really don't see why I should be the one to put my neck out there.
Something you said a bit early on, and then you have re-emphasized that, there can be many academic books, many essays, journalism up to a point, though journalism does make a difference. But ridicule, I think, is the straw that breaks the camel back. And satirists down the ages have found that when ridicule hits the mark, a politician just cannot deal with that. You said about Rahul Gandhi being brought down by the humor and sustained propaganda, if I may add.
Yes.
And I think he has shoulders broad enough to take it. And if you were to make a full episode about him, he'd probably not this. Though the Congress will have its own trolls, but they don't have half the bite that others have. I found a couple of other politicians whose supporters are very, very touchy. But we have over the years developed a thick skin. And no doubt you also have a thick skin because you must be getting pilloried by the followers of those people. But do your own political views sometimes reflect in what you say?
Well, the most common question, what are your views? And it really, really is so sad also is that today the concept of somebody who comments on political affairs and doesn't have his own political agenda is non-existent. Let's be honest about it. There is a difference between having a political point of view, having your value system, and being politically disinterested. Nobody will believe it. Nobody believes it. And journalists have given good reason also. I mean, the number of journalists who've either become ministers or have gone ahead and taken roles or have been involved with political parties is endless. So I don't feel bad about that because people always expect is that your entire persona, your entire channel, your entire existence is actually towards a certain end. I wish it was so. I would have, at least I'll retire rich. Unfortunately, idiots like us don't have that. But we do have political values. And I found it necessary to constantly restate that on the Deshbhakt so people know where we stand. By the way, you already should know that I'm Mamata Banerjee's nephew, right? I'm Banerjee, Mamata Banerjee. So, kuch to hoga na. So obviously that is the understanding and association. Then I tell them that I have the same relationship with Mamata Banerjee as much as Lalit Modi has with Narendra Modi. Then they get the point and shut up. But still, where do we stand? Are we Congress? Are we Aam Aadmi Party? Are we TMC? BJP kam hi bolte hain. Because, well, satire asks and is harshest to the people in power. We are against all political parties. We try to make people understand, some actually do now. We are against all political parties. Hum kehte hain, all politicians are thieves. But we hate political parties or are against political parties in the following order. We are against bigotry and hate-based political parties. Then we are, number one. Number two, we are against political parties that are not merit-based and are dynastic. Number three, we are against political parties that are off U-turn and completely change their understanding and go back on their word. These are the understandings of politics. And accordingly, if you 3 years of episodes that you see, the hundreds of episodes that we put out, you will see these three elements throughout on all episodes. And yes, we also have to take a lot of pains to point out, and I think Wire should also take pains to point this out, being critical to the government, asking questions to the government does not make you left. Anti-government, critical government not equal to left. Being a Banerjee or a Bengali is not equal to the left. So people get very shocked when I say, but you are left. I said, how? So I asked somebody that, how do you know I'm left? They said, but you question the government. I said, questioning the government is left. I said, I have 10 years of Twitter history. Find me one tweet of 10 years, thousands of tweets. Find me one tweet where I have actually said anything good about the left, because I hate the left. I'm a capitalist. At heart, I run a small capitalist enterprise. So I think these tags really, really, really come into play. So, well, we have to deal with it.
We'll be right back after this short break.
$100. That's all it takes to begin your journey with Bitcoin and Ethereum. No, really. With CoinSwitch, you can start investing in over 100 cryptocurrencies with just 100 rupees. On top of that, there are zero charges for deposits and withdrawals, so you can trade, buy, sell, however and whenever you want. All of this, plus their extremely intuitive interface, makes CoinSwitch the perfect app for beginners in the crypto space. But don't take my word for it. Just download CoinSwitch for free and try it out for yourself. If you'd like more information on cryptocurrencies, tune into A Show About Crypto with me, Rohan Joshi, my new adventure on IVM Podcasts. CoinSwitch, kuch to badlega.
Welcome back to the Wire Talks. Not to worry, we have been there. As I said, I have been called, and I'm sure my colleagues have been called perhaps worse. Congress stooge in the pay of the Vatican, China-sponsored programming or website, and we all take bribes. And recently, someone said you're an ARP follower. So we've been there throughout. I keep saying to people, listen, I want a board around my head. Please come and finance me. But nobody comes. The Vatican doesn't even know of my existence. So I'm no satirist or comedian, but such is the harsh reality that you don't have to be sometimes because society and politicians themselves make good fun of themselves. But you must have fans coming up to you to say you said it the way I hoped somebody would.
Okay, now, why did we join journalism? I mean, at least I'll be shameless enough to admit it. I joined journalism to travel and to have some respect. I fortunately knew even when I was joining journalism that paisa to nahi hai isme. And money was never the passion in life. I would have done something else. The passion was to be recognized and to travel. I traveled when I was in television. I was not really recognized when I was in television. Then I gave up television, did radio. And this is, and not to brag, I'm just, if somebody's listening or somebody wants to ever do digital, 10 years of doing television, and I was decent at it. When I was leaving, a lot of people said, you are stupid. You are one of the better offs. You get to travel. You are a reporter anchor. As in television, the best job that you can really have in television today is when you're a reporter anchor. Either you're reporting on the big story or you're anchoring the show. I mean, it doesn't get more comfortable or more glamorous than that. 1 year of doing digital, I was recognized more on the streets, in airports, in markets than of 10 years of television. I'm not even talking about 3 years. I'm talking about just the first year. I'm just saying that because that became a proof of concept, because I had put a lot on the line in terms of finances, in terms of my life and career. So out of the two reasons why I left, why I wanted to be a media person, a journalist, a reporter, anchor, satirist, was to be known. And that got fulfilled in the first year. Yes, travel hasn't happened. Maybe it'll happen post-COVID. But yes, it works. People are watching. Yes, it's not as much as mainstream television, but maybe the stickiness, maybe the kind of people who are watching you is far better on digital at this point of time. If a lot of people say that, Akash, why don't you do your television thing? I said, even if not that anybody would touch Deshbhakt with a barge pole on television, but even if somebody would offer, I would not do it. This is the place. Digital is the place. This is where it is happening at this point of time.
So that must be gratifying. And do they financially support you to keep you going?
Well, I would hope for more. So when people come up and say, very interestingly, many people, and I have never found a bhakt come up and threaten me to bash. What people have come up says, we don't agree with you, but we watch you. I'm like, that's the best. That's even better than a quote-unquote fan, although we don't like to use the word fan on Deshbhakt, because that's where the problem of this nation really has started, is because once you become a fan of somebody, then you can't critique that person or show that person has gone wrong. But people have come out and said that, we don't agree with you, but we watch you. On terms of supporting, we've been doing membership-driven content as well. We have exclusive chats for members. We have an exclusive Discord server for members. But there is a problem. Beyond a certain point of time, growth on membership-driven platform is a challenge. I am not saying it is not. Because beyond a certain level of people, you will not find the masses right now willing to shell out money on a monthly basis to support. We have had support to sustain ourselves, to sustain a small team. But if you tell me that, is this going to take you to the next level? Are you going to travel, have a bigger team, have daily content output? Perhaps not. And that is why we are working on a little bit of a hybrid model where we take non-political sponsors who have nothing to do with politics. So obviously nobody who is, we've had big corporations come up and say, would like to advertise with you. We've politely turned them down. So we work more with, fintech companies. Companies have, global companies, maybe computer security companies, and do a little bit more funding there. So funding has always been a problem, but the call that we have taken is that we would rather remain small than dilute our independence. So that's where we are.
So coming now to before that, I just wanted to add a tuppenny bit of my own, which is that I think a lot of interesting action on the comedy satire front is happening in Hindi and other languages. And I think that is the glorious future of our satire, that young people are popping up and saying things that were not said earlier. And I think they are picking up traction. They also may or may not continue or have sustainability, but even to do it on your own is so heartening. Coming to the year has been very grim.
So,
and it has been tragic and sad in some ways. COVID, of course, the farmers' agitation, 700 people died. So much more lynching. In some ways, one might argue this is the time for more humor. But in some ways, one can only cry at the tragedy of it all because it's human. And it's affecting human beings and their families. So how do you look back on the year that's ending?
So, we started with this, and I was a little grim and morose right in the beginning, only saying that, I don't know, I'm not going to remember 2021 as a happy year. I personally got hit with COVID and just narrowly escaped going to hospital. But, it was almost like I would have to. There was lung damage. The recovery was slow. What really angers me and upsets me is how, and actually, my alter ego Bhakt Banerjee did an episode immediately after I got okay. It was one of the first episodes that we put out, saying that in 3 months, dekh lena, nobody is going to remember all this. And it took less than 3 months, it seems, for the people to forget what happened in COVID. That is really, really painful for me, is that don't support anybody, don't hate anybody, whatever. But how can you not hold the administration accountable for what happened to you? That showed the level to which people are willing to adjust. People are willing to forget and forgive. And I have, in 2021, the biggest learning for me in 2021 is to develop respect for our politicians. Because you and I, the educated, privileged beings that we are, might logically think that these guys are batshit stupid. What on earth are they doing talking about this sort of lies, misinformation, misdirection? But guess what? They are not talking to you and me. They're talking to their core constituency. And the core constituency is nodding their head in rapid agreement. And that is the realization I got post-COVID when I tried to understand and was trying to make sense of why is what is happening. Is because these netas are actually talking to their constituency. And these constituency people are actually agreeing that everything is okay. So you and I may sit here and pontificate on how bad 2021 has been. The economy is in shambles. We are sitting at 2017 levels of GDP. We are sinking in the democratic index, the press index, the human development index, and Bangladesh is going above us in per capita income, and Pakistan is better in hunger index than us. We are nowhere in the global conversation as far as the economy is concerned. But it doesn't matter to the people. You don't see any sort of anger on the streets. People are happily filling petrol at 100 rupees. People are happily living in record-breaking inflation on 30 years at this point of time. So that realization has dawned that it'll take a lot more for the people to wake up, because it seems that right now they are on a bit of a high at this point, thinking that putting down somebody else is what should happen in this country, and their own economic progress and their own beating China and their own becoming a superpower has really taken a backseat at this point of time. I think that is the realization of 2021.
So, as a satirist, what are your, in satire terms, what are your 5, 10, it's listicle time, 5, 10 top subjects that came to you and you just ran with them?
A lot of people say that, tumhari to dukaan band ho jayegi if Congress comes into power. And I say, you are absolutely right. And thank God hamari dukaan band nahi hogi, because that's not happening. So content is completely free for us and so abundant. So if we want to do an hourly show, I think we will still not run out of satire content in this country. Top 5. Obviously the farmer agitation, but not as much as the farmer agitation against the government. In satirical terms, the farmer agitation against the media. We made a special episode on that also. Let us not forget that the farmer win against the government is half the story. For the first time, you had the mainstream media, the complete might of thousands of crores of rupees being decimated by the farmers. This whole narrative that they had tried to stitch of farmers being anti-national, farmers being Khalistani, farmers being the protesting farmers being middlemen, it all collapsed. And of course, farmers are disrupting roads. You see, how can we disrupt roads? We would have beaten China. It's just because Singhu border is disrupted. That is why we are not being able to beat China. So the farmer agitation and the complete beating down of Godi media, that would be the number 1. And related to that is number 2, Godi media. I honestly think 2021 is the year that has, for the first time, conclusively exposed what the media is doing to a lot of people. Because before 2021, I haven't seen media journalists, editors being questioned in open forums that you are a party person. They are being abused and they are being insulted very openly now. That, Rahul Gandhi also recently said, Dalali band karo. And one may not agree with Rahul Gandhi on a lot of things, but a lot of people agreed, Dalali to kar hi rahe hai. So I think the exposing of media is another highlight of the mainstream media. Whether it actually translates to people not watching them and watching better content, the jury is still out on that one, I would say. But the Godi media, the main guys, are a lot more exposed today. That would be 2. In satirical terms, we had a lot of fun with the media, obviously. Post in COVID, we also got to see the Bhabiji Papads of the world, the Coronels of the world. That really gave us a lot of content. Yes, that was a little bit of a grim content. But again, we must not forget that what does the Supreme Leader say? Apada mein afsar. When you have a company that is coming out and first trying to claim that Coronel is actually, fights COVID, and then you had the medical association come out and lash out and then said, no, it's a immunity booster. There was a lot of fun to be had there. We did a lot of episodes on that. So that being that, so the business around COVID, I think we've worked a lot around that. Kangana Ranawat, I think, was one of our biggest roast episodes. The person that we've roasted a lot. We are going to give her a special award at the end of the year also, because she gave us a lot of free content. But again, look at how much people are willing to believe. Dead bodies. No, I heard dead bodies are from Nigeria. Though those visuals are of Nigeria. That you should not cut trees because that's how we're going to have oxygen, and therefore there would be no oxygen shortage in hospitals. I mean, the kind of bizarreness that there was as far as Kangana is concerned, I mean, that gave us a lot of content. And one highlight of the year was Diljit Dosanjh slamming down on Kangana in Punjabi. We made an episode on that. That got millions of views. Is because that also showed is that, you have those cute little doggies that will bark at you from behind the gate, and as soon as you open the gate, then they go running. A lot of hate mongers, a lot of fake news peddlers are just like that. You just have to stand up to them, confront to them, and they will go back. They will scurry to their burrows and to their dens and to their dog houses. That really was a very good example of that. And I would say finally, number 5. What would immediately from the top of my mind come to the opposition also has given us a lot to think about. Arvind Kejriwal doing the U-turns of U-turns, completely trying to follow. He's putting his engineering dimag into this, and he's trying to understand, okay, this is what people want, so let me now turn and try to service them in this. Whether that's going to work or not it's a big gamble that he's taken, at least. A soft version. So should people go for the B version or should they go for the original? That remains to be seen. The Congress continues to be as confused. We've done episodes and episodes on Congress. People forget the fact is that when there is a vacuum in power, that's where fascism thrives. We don't have elected president, a full-time president of the Congress party now. Now it's been 2.5 years. We don't have that. So we've also been abused on that aspect also, is because a lot of people think that anybody who's questioning the government is anti-government. We are saying that we are as much anti or useless opposition as well. So I think those were the broad strokes for us.
Clearly, Akash, satirists will pull out the rabbits continuously from the hat. I completely agree with you. I could add a few more. But this is your listicle. But as long as the Godi media exists, and as long as they keep putting nano chips in notes, you've got a rich vein. Just one last roundup on that. Your friends in that kind of media, no names, are they also shocked at, or do they have self-doubt about how low the profession or they have fallen, or their bosses have fallen?
So, not that I have too many friends.
I ask you this as a media person,
yeah.
because we've not noticed so much. We barely get to meet people, and I'm not. Neither of us are from a TV background. But do you find that? One has a few acquaintances and one can say friends. I don't have too many friends left in media. I was perhaps fortunate enough to be friends with people who had a spine. I mean, look at the number of people who are coming into the world of digital. Look, Ajit Anjum is a very good example of that. Vinod Kapadi is an example of that. Those people who Barkha is an example of that. Those people who compromised, said, no, we have to survive, we have to earn money, and I understand that. Everybody has mouths to feed. They took a different path. And one hasn't been too much in touch with them. But these acquaintances, what is very, very surprising is, I would have understood that you're doing what you're doing because there are mouths to feed, there is a salary to be earned. But even privately, many of these old acquaintances whom you've known,
would very, very angrily aver that what they are doing is journalism. I would be okay if they're putting on a show. But there are many, many people who actually believe the crap that they put out is journalism. The shoddy rankings that they put out, the opinion polls that they put out, the nightly fights that they do is actually journalism. That is a little surprising also. But you also see some of that in television. When an Anjana Om Kashyap is asked a question, she hits back and says, who gave you the right to ask me questions? This is my show. I have invited you. I will ask you the questions. I'm like, this is not the journalism we were born with. This is not the journalism that we learned. We very well know that journalists are open to questions. Where did this turn come in New India, where a journalist can actually scream at the top of her voice saying that she can't be questioned? So, but that's where we are apparently, that journalists can't be questioned. Journalists can question, of course, the opposition, not the government. And you have to just lump it. So that is very, very surprising. Whether it's a defense mechanism against themselves or not, I don't know. There's a very famous saying about Arnab also, that before 2008, which is the 26/11 attacks, before 2008, that's when Arnab actually came into national prominence. As he would say in a WhatsApp quote, maybe, he scored big on 26/11. Before 26/11, Arnab used to think that other people think he's God. Before 26/11, Arnab used to think other people think he's God. After 26/11, Arnab started thinking that he's God. So that's how the cookie has crumbled. And I am happy that digital media at least is making Godi media answerable. Otherwise, would you imagine? There is no answerability of this, because one of the biggest failures of mainstream media is that mainstream media hasn't questioned mainstream media. Had mainstream media called out mainstream media, I think we would have been in a better situation. If somebody does something like this in a digital media, I am sure others would call out. I think that didn't happen in mainstream media. As long as, we are not doing anything, so we are okay. No. Your colleagues are doing something wrong. You need to call that out as well. That didn't happen.
That wall is broken. So thank you very much. That was actually a very good roundup of not just satire, but the country we live in, the society we live in, the lunacy all around us, and the welcome acceptance of that lunacy.
Yep.
As we all know, WhatsApp groups, family groups have broken up. And you can't talk to your old school and college mates anymore.
Yeah.
So that was Akash Banerjee, the well-known satirist. I say well-known because, as he said, he's got more fame and name and perhaps shame in a couple of years of his Deshbhakt show than he got into his entire high-profile journalism career. Telling us about 2021 and telling us about what life is for a satirist and a comedian. It's not all rosy, but there's much fun to be had. We'll be back with another episode of the Wire Talks next week. Till then, have a happy holidays and see you in the new year. Bye. You can check out this podcast and other interesting ones on the Wire website, the IVM podcast website, app, or wherever else that you get your podcasts. Goodbye from me, Sidharth Bhatia, and the Wire Talks podcast team.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Raw and Organic, Ekta Tibrewal, founder of Savage app, deconstructs the online versus offline fitness debate with Kunal Rajput. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Rajneesh Kumar, former SBI chairman, talks to Karthik. They discuss his journey with the bank. On Smarter with Sid, learn how to spot the most obvious thing with the help of the invisible gorilla experiment. On Marathi Kirkitun, Rajiv and Manik reveal the flavor of G.D. Madgulkar's lesser-known poem, Visartha Visrena. And on Hansvani, hear how a lonely man finds a purpose to live in the story Kachra Baba. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. We'd also really appreciate any ratings or reviews you can give us on any of the platforms that we're listening on, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, or IVM Podcast app. Wherever you're listening, do let us know that you are listening. I'd also like to remind you all that we have a number of YouTube channels where a number of shows are available. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube to check out what channels we have. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Cred, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Intel. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Paisa podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM Podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you folks.